Hello, everyone, and welcome. It is Wednesday, the 26th of June. The Knowledge Bolide crew has surrounded me on my screen, and we are here for a rock ID. This is a trifecta rock ID. We have three Patreon supporters who submitted their rocks for identification purposes as potential meteorites. We all know it's a very, very long shot, but we have a crew selected here that is going to ring in on some they've never seen these videos before. So they're going to have an opinion about them, and we're going to go around the horn and get their opinions on if they are worthy of looking at more and pursuing scientific testing as a meteorite, or if they're leave it right theirs. So let's go to the first one. We have Jim, David, and Rolf that we're doing today. So thank you very much for supporting us on Patreon, and let's get right into the first rock ID. Hello, due to some technical issues, I was not able to include the narrative in this video, but here are the known details about the specimen. I inherited this meteorite specimen, and details about it where it was found were not included. It weighs 43.6 pounds. I did a magnetic test, and it's non-magnetic, so that made me consider the previous owner's information is correct. I think he means incorrect. However, when I searched for photos of similar looking meteorites, I found one on the Topherspin Meteorites website, and this rock is the last frame of my video. It seems more likely that these are a pair. And I am interested in learning any details you may have about this particular meteorite pictured on your webpage. Have you had it classified? Who did you use? Thanks so much. I'm excited to be one of your Patreon Rockhound members, and I'm excited to hear your opinion about this rock and its potential match. Thank you. Sincerely, David. So, this is the meteorite that he likened it to that he saw on our webpage. I'm sure everyone knows exactly what meteorite that is, right?
Oh, yeah.
And we actually have a nickname for that meteorite, Barney.
Constable.
Yeah. All right. So let me see here. So what I actually have is some pictures. Yeah, I have some pictures of the sample. I like to go around the horn and get the crew to ring in on this. And then at the end, I actually have some pictures of Barnstable, the meteorite that he compared, that he says could be a pair of, or he says is similar to. And I'm using them with permission of the awesome and ever beautiful Stephen Amera, the friend of mine and the finder of Barnstable. So those pictures are used with love and courtesy from him. All respect to the finder and mighty man himself. So who has a comment about this picture? Anyone want to ring in?
I've got one, as usual.
Okay, and then we'll go to Art after you.
Okay, so this, it is not a meteorite. It is an extremely coarse-grained granite. I see SiO2 there. There's a translucence to the surface, and there's
when
abundant
you say
quartz.
SOI2, what does that mean to dumb people like me?
Quartz, flint, chert, they're all forms of silicon dioxide. But we see quartz crystals in this one, and yeah, this is an earth rock. It's the same shape and general color as Barnstable.
Yeah, yeah. AI will be fooled. Art, go to you, buddy.
Yes, I have to agree with Pat. It very much is a granitic texture because I'm seeing the tannish sections probably were like a salmon colored feldspar, which could be a K feldspar, and there's some white feldspar as well, could be albite feldspar and quartz as well, and the crystals are rather large that are showing in the piece.
Mm-hmm. Fantastic. Wow. Thank you, Art. I love it, man. I see a hand up from Allison.
I do see some like linear striations even of the feldspar and the quartz in the video, and we don't see any linear striations in any meteorites that I know of, especially not Barnstable. But I actually have a question for the crew in regards to a comment made about this stone. He had made reference that this was possibly paired with Barnstable, but I may have missed it. Maybe they specified where he inherited this stone, but I don't know where.
Mm-hmm.
Do we find pairs, in really extremely different places? Like I know Barnstable is found in Massachusetts. This could have been found in, Texas or California.
Yeah. Yeah, Allison, I'm sorry. My camera is hiding the person that's speaking space right there, so I never know when your lips are done. Sorry. Hopefully the new camera angle works for people. But no, I'm glad you pointed that out. I did want to talk to that because the stone it was likened to, or looks similar to, is Barnstable. We all know Barnstable was found in one place only, and that was in Massachusetts, like near Cape Cod, in Barnstable. So anything that's paired to that has to be related to that. Well, there's no other. It was a single stone basically that broke up and is in this one small strewn field. And I have pictures of that coming up that you can see a little bit of the work in the field. But no, to be paired to it, it would have to be the same material. And usually strewn fields would not be that much separated.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you. Ben has his hand up too.
Yeah, the stone shows obvious polishing, and it also shows obvious oxidation from long exposure to water. Plus it's showing silica all over the place. It's an obvious stream cobble or river cobble.
True.
That's why you're seeing this shine up here.
Yeah, it could be chert, it could be flint, anything like that.
Thank you, Ben. Does anyone have I don't want to whip a dead dog, but does anyone have a comment about the internal structure here that we're seeing? Or does it just solidify our previous thoughts of some kind of quartz chert?
I agree. I want to make a comment about what Jules just said in the comments, and she said there are no chondrules in that cut surface. 100% agree, Jules. We should be seeing chondrules in there, and we don't. We see more feldspar and more quartz.
And Topher, can you go to Jennifer too? She had a comment about what she thought it was.
Yeah, Jennifer, and then Dave.
Oh, hi. Yeah, I thought it was like a pegmatite granite with really large crystals. Pegmatites can usually grow with larger crystals because they have long enough time to, so they do. But they're usually intrusive rocks, I believe. Yeah, granite.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you for the feedback.
Pretty much, yeah, for everybody else.
Good deal. Okay, Dave Pinsky, over to you.
Yes, the one thing wasn't mentioned is if you're going to search for chondrules, those aren't there, but there's also no iron inclusions, metallic iron inclusions. Even some of the most weathered ones, you can find some left over, and I didn't really see any in this.
Mm-hmm. I think the crew pretty much nailed it. I did want to zoom in, and I don't know if I actually can. Yeah, maybe I can. Yeah. Okay. I can zoom in on this area here. When you see this right here, that is absolutely horrible to see in what you expect to be a meteorite. That crystal, as was mentioned, quartz, the crystal, like just the length of time it had to grow, all of those things. So thank you very much. I appreciate the crew's opinion on this. Now let's look at, I always like to show an example of what the submitter thought it was or thought it could be. So let's look at an example of a real meteorite now. This is Barnstable with its finder, Stephen Amera. So it actually does look quite similar from afar. They took it as a screen grab from across the room. So we had it on display at the Meteorite Mansion, and that's how they ran across this. But there is the entire meteorite here. This is the broken back of it, and all these pieces come together and basically make an entire thing. But this is an oriented shield to main mass. And like I said, Stephen Amera is the one that found it. This is our good friend finding little fragments that are out there now in his neck of the woods. But if you look at this rock from the outside, you don't see any crystals whatsoever. You don't see any quartz. You do see chondrules poking through. You do see an extremely weathered rock, but you're not seeing what we were seeing on the other ones. And then when you do cut it open and see the interior, you see structure, you see chondrules, you see matrix, you see weathering cracks for sure. This is a very old weathered meteorite that was in Massachusetts weather, freezing and thawing and freezing and thawing, getting penetrated by moisture year after season after season. And it's still, the matrix and chondrules still survive. So it's very important to see a internal window and then not see what we saw on the other one, which looked very large rather than seeing chondrules and structure. So crew, thank you very much for helping me on that rock ID. We are moving on to rock ID number 2. All right, we are now rolling on our second rock ID from Jim Wallace.
Hi, my name is Jim Wallace. I live in Salem, Oregon. I was hiking with my wife near Parker, Arizona in March, in the 1st of March. And I looked down and I saw this. And I thought, that doesn't belong here. There's no other black rocks. Pardon my cold, by the way. I'm sorry. So I picked it up and boy, that's really heavy. So being a rock hound, I picked it up and took it back to the truck. And I was watching some of your videos and I noticed similarities in some meteorites that you showed. I believe this is the impact material where it hit the ground. It was sitting right on top. I believe these are hitchhikers. I believe it's oriented fall, that it came this direction, like this. There's evidence of a flow line right here, if you can see that. There's contraction fractures throughout, and it's got these, I don't believe they're chondrules, but these odd shaped things. So I cut being a rock hound, of course I had to cut it, and I did, but I can't polish it. So this is good as it gets for now. And I did cut off a piece to send to Daniel. He's up here in Portland, and see if what he thinks it is. But I really value your show and your opinions. Also, it's starting to rust. So if I put a earth magnet on a string and hold it close, it has to be about this far away, and then it will just pull it over and touch it. It's very, very slightly magnetic. And then about 10 miles from that same spot, I found another interesting stone with little flow lines, if you can see them. And if you can zoom in on it somehow, you will see multicolored, probably 5 different colored crystals that look like they have an aura around them. There's green and red and blue and kind of purple. And I hope you can see that. If you zoom in into here, you will definitely see what I'm talking about. And I don't know. Anyway, it's probably too long, but this is it. And Topher, I will take you to where I found this if you want, if it's what I think it is. Thank you very much.
Jim, thank you very much. That video was pretty well narrated. We got some information like magnetism, where it was found, what kind of things you're seeing. You point them out really well. So I'm going to just give you a thumb, and it was shot in widescreen. So thank you very much. I grabbed some still images and whoa, hi Jim. I wanted to show some people on the crew stills and see what kind of feedback they can give me. If Allison, I see your hand up. Okay.
So I'm gonna walk through this as I see it mentally. First of all, if it were an iron, it would be highly attracted to a magnet. Because it's not highly attracted to a magnet, then it must be a chondrite, right? Mm-hmm. But there are no chondrules. There are no visible chondrules. The dust on Jim's fingers reminds me of hematite dust. When I cut chondrite meteorites, oftentimes the dust that I cut or polish off them is quite brown, is a very dark brown rather than, I mean, that's brown, but it's leaning more towards red and black tones than our meteorite dust is off of a saw or off of a grinding machine of any kind. It appears like some of those big bumps and things kind of sticking off of it remind me of a botryoidal hematite, or even like those are big bots. You would almost even call those like mammillaries. So mammillary or botryoidal hematite would be my guess, and that's a very common MeteorWRONG. So good job, Jim, and keep up the good work. That's not a horrible looking MeteorWRONG in my opinion, but that's the process of elimination that I would go through mentally with that stone.
Wow. Every week you surprise and astound me. Prairie Girl Rocks hosts herself. Yeah, for those that don't know, Allison has her own YouTube channel, and she hosts a weekly show Wednesday mornings, I think, right? I think it's, yep. Yeah, I think it's Wednesday mornings, and she gets more people live than I do. But yeah, she does a lot of lapidary rock collecting, things like that, and has a fun crew. So if that's your bag, definitely look up Prairie Girl Rocks on YouTube. And that's a free plug just for you. So
thanks, Topher.
Pat Brown with his hand up.
So I completely agree with Allison. This looks like hematite, and any object that has a metallic sort of luster, and this has that sort of black chrome hematite luster on the cut surface. Any object that shows metallic luster that doesn't really strongly attract a magnetite or a magnet is not a meteorite. Meteorites are a minimum of 40, 50, 60% iron when they're metallic meteorites. So I think this thing is a hematite concretion. He's talking about these as hitchhikers, but hitchhikers are, first off, quite rare, and they only occur in very, very highly oriented meteorites and only on the very clear backside. And I have an example if we want to look at it.
Thank you very much, Pat. I appreciate that, and I want to double up, double up. I like Sir Mix-a-Lot on these hitchhikers because we had both videos talk about I think we have a video coming up. The next one talks about hitchhikers as well. So yes, they are very rare. I've been collecting meteorites for 6+ years, and I don't have a single hitchhiker in my collection, and that's not because I don't like them. It's just because they're very, very rare, and the science that the physics needed to create that environment for the hitchhikers to exist, and then that meteorite to be found while still there and identifiable, it's quite rare and has to be very oriented, as Pat said. So Bruce, I see your hand up, and then we have Art next. Ben, I'm sorry, we have your hand up. Then
one of the first thing I have that's wrong with this rock is color. It's basically the same color inside as it is outside, except that it's shinier on the inside and weathered. So, but it's the same color. There's no different anything on the inside that isn't on the outside. It's just it hasn't been exposed to oxidation yet. The other thing is that the what looks like add-ons or hitchhikers, they're not nodular or round enough for me. The ones I've always seen were like orbs or bubbles, and those look more like they're just chunks that were accreted in a liquid of manganese or iron oxide. Same with those tan or light colored patches. They're from other things being bonded onto it, not from anything internal. And the dead giveaway, I could make this a non-meteorite in 1 second. All I need is a piece of unglazed porcelain and just drag it across. It's going to streak red because it's hematite.
Thank you. I appreciate that, and all that information and the reminder. If you're going to submit a video and photos, help us out with a scratch test. Give us a scratch test result picture. That would really help us out too. That way we can teach everyone when it's this color, this is we have our last commenter on this rock, and Art Wagner. Please teach us. If I can highlight a picture for you, let me know.
Okay. Yes, this is something that reminds me a little bit of industrial slag. Even though we don't see large vesicles, those light areas, tan, this leads me to believe that it's slag because it was mixed in with whatever was being in a furnace, strengthening metal or steel or whatever, But yeah, it's interesting.
And Art, thank you very much for that. You, as a collector of industrial slag, that's not an insult to this piece. So I always want to put that out there because you are the industrial slag expert, and that's not an offensive. You're also the Ozerky turkey. I wanted to point out some of the things before we move on to the next sample. We're going to see the crew give some examples of real meteorite features that are being called out. So here's an example of where I believe it was Jim said this may be flow lines. Well, first off, I would say it looks more like a rollover lip than flow line, but you're talking about a feature that would only exist on a highly oriented meteorite with fresh fusion crust. So when you're looking at something like this, would have to be flow lines or coming or lipping over from the front to the back. So this would have to be the front, that where you have to be looking at the back of the meteorite with this rollover lip. But the rollover lip would have to start at the very, very beginning and come all the way back. We're just not seeing that orientation on this piece whatsoever. At least for me, when I look at it, I don't see orientation. I see something with glob stuck on it, as the crew described more scientifically than me. So again, thank you very much. I think that was a great submission, well described and well documented. Thank you very much. Do a scratch test for us next time. Let's move on to ID number 3. This is our third and final submission for the day. This is from Rolf Kroger. I'm hoping I'm saying that correct, or Kruger, but you're definitely one of our international viewers and Patreon supporters, and we definitely appreciate it. This is a well-documented stone too, guys.
Hello Topher, hello Sue, hello crew. This is my 22 kilo stone. Weathering cracks, magnetic deeper parts, I think fully crusted. Here's this skin. And all those blacker parts here look very crusty. And there are lines or something going out from the blacker part. And that is a wonderful front side. Deeper parts, not really whack maglev, and fully crusted. So I turn it now. All this molten skin looks really crusted for me, and it has a metallic luster. I don't know if you can see or if it's mineral. Now the saw side. With cracks and little black and whiter parts. Very little. Perhaps hitchhiker and filled cracks. Take a look. Now I turn it. Yes, this is the other part of the stone. Sorry for the cleaning in the background. Okay. Thank you for the opportunity and have a great day. Bye.
Ralph, thank you so much, man. Appreciate that submission. I hope from Germany. Thank you very much. Well done, sir. We're going to go around the horn. I grabbed some screen grabs of important parts of what I think documented details that you were pointing out. And we're going to go around the horn once again. I have this listed as contraction cracks. In my opinion, hopefully we can do a real quick show and tell tonight, but these contraction cracks are super large. These are plates. Real contraction cracks are a lot smaller, a lot uniform, but they're a lot smaller, a lot tighter. That's my opinion of these being contraction cracks, and it's actually talked about on the next picture, which I will tell you, that is a very, when I saw this, I was like, good job, good job. That's a very compelling from a certain point of view with certain lighting. Picture and feature of what looks to be very fresh fusion crust. If you squint a little, Pat.
Yeah, so the first thing we were looking at that he labeled contraction cracks aren't. Contraction cracks are only in the fusion crust, not down into the stone deeply. This is an interesting rock. It superficially looks like a CM2-ish kind of thing, but it's obvious that it's a very hard rock. I think ultimately this is going to be a basalt.
I saw Art waving to the camera. Can I get a picture signed up for you, buddy?
I would like that end that was cut showing that it's just as dark on the inside as it is on the outside. And
Okay.
the white spots give it like a sulfuric texture in there. Probably could be feldspar in there, you know? And yeah, I'm in total agreement. This is a basalt for sure.
Okay. Awesome. I'm glad you didn't steal everything from the internal slice. Thank you. Hitchhikers. Again, we talked about hitchhikers only being present on highly oriented specimens. And I don't really think anyone is going to tell you that this looks like it's a highly oriented specimen or even a slightly oriented specimen. So any other, oh, I see Bruce with his hand up. Bruce?
You see crack going like almost the entire length of it. You know, you can see it's very linear. It's very flat. And I may be wrong, but I don't think that we've seen that in meteorites.
Mm-hmm. I'm glad you pointed out. That's why I grabbed this screen grab. I grabbed this for two reasons, to be quite honest with you. One, because everything you just said is true, disproving that it could be a meteorite. However, when you look at it from this angle, let me see if I can zoom in on it. See these little things right here? To an untrained eye with this lighting, you would say, oh, it's obvious metal blebs shining through. So remember to look for anything and everything in your sample that does and does not. Because when I first looked at this picture, I was looking at what you were looking at, and that's why I took this screen grab. But then I looked at it, I'm like, wow, that's a great learning point. Because if someone said, look at all the metal blebs, I'd be saying that's a very convincing. Awesome. Ben, can I cue up a picture for you?
The picture you had before had some visible what on more than one surface looked like tiny vesicles, which is
this one here.
Yeah, that's a no-go for me. That screams basalt. And the other one, with the large divots, they look like divots and not like they're not fluted regmaglyphs.
Yeah.
And you're right, that's a divot. That's not a fluted regmaglyph. And then the lines in it, the lines are going in 30 directions.
Yep.
That's a no-go. And what looks like hitchhikers, only if there's some sort of evidence of a rollover lip, even if it's a remnant, but there's none of that. And then the metal blebs, if they were metal blebs, well, you could confirm it in 2 minutes, just grinding a window. The blebs would be even brighter and easier to see, but they're not there.
Yeah, I agree, and I thank you, sir. When you cut it open and look inside, you get a different and varied view. And we're going to go to Pat for his impressions or comparing it briefly to a meteorite. But I'd also like you to comment on what we're looking at here on these lines, because these lines are not very meteoritic whatsoever, and I wanted to call attention to them.
Yeah, the line that we saw there looks very much like a hydrothermal vein, and we have not seen the very specific mechanisms necessary on meteorite parent bodies to form hydrothermal veins like that. So
this vein right here running through is not metal, it's silicates. So it's not a melt vein. It's not that. It's, if you look at it, would you expect to see that more crystalline than the material surrounding it?
It appears to be a different color. It appears to be a lighter color than the rest of the rock, and that's consistent with a hydrothermal vein.
Awesome, thank you. Can you talk to this view?
That one, yes. So this very superficially might look like a CM2 carbonaceous chondrite, in that, there's some things that very vaguely, if you squint, look like chondrules and maybe even CAIs. I think it was Art's comment that this thing is exactly the same color on the outside as it is on the inside, and that's very unusual for meteorites. Also, on this one, if you look at the scrape marks in the upper right and lower left, those clearly indicate this is a very, very hard rock, and I think that's more evidence that this is a basalt. And Ben was spot on with that one picture with all the vesicles. That screams basalt.
Awesome. Thank you very much. I'm going to go once more around the horn if anyone has any hands. I want to let people know one of the main goal to these rock IDs is to let people know if their sample is worthy of spending more time and money and heart on. There are some people who get absolutely attached to their sample, believing wild dreams that they've convinced themselves of. And it's heartbreaking for me when I've literally had people tell me they've lost their entire family, they've lost their house, they haven't showered in years. I'm not joking about these things because and I'm starting to get emotional about it because it affects me when I hear people throwing their lives away, chasing a dream that is an obvious no after a certain amount of time. So that's really one of the goals that we have here today in doing these is we want to really tell people, hey, this has interest. You got our interest peaked. You should really slice off a sample. And let me give you a name of a scientist to send this to. I'm going to let him know to expect this from you, and let's see what he says. We're separating that out from the, sorry, you have an interesting terrestrial rock that may have some misunderstood features. So that's really what we're doing today. And if this is the kind of education and support and help you need with your rocks, or if you want to become an educational supporter or witness fall supporter, it's only $10 or $25 a month. If you want to get into our rock ID program, that's $25 a month. And hey man, if you're cheap, you can quit after a week. Thanks for watching. Have a great time, everyone. Thanks, crew. I appreciate everyone's help.